So I wanted to do something a little bit different and special. Uh, I got to thinking about a lot of video games I've played in the past, quotes from villains, from heroes, support characters, and main protagonists. You name it. And I thought, after hearing so many, why not create a top five um, list of quotes from video game characters? So I wanted to start off with a number five. Hope is what makes us strong. It is what we it is why we are here and what we fight for when all else is lost. Pandora from God of War 3. She says that quote when there is nothing but despair in her life. She's lived a life of tragedy and suffering along with Kratos. And while Kratos rejects uh, the idea of hope, believing it to be for the weak, Pandora is showing and telling that she has experienced hope for the first time in her life because Kratos has put fear in the hearts of the Greek gods, and their fear turned into her hope of freedom and salvation. Uh, so yeah, that is an inspirational quote right there where even if your back is against the ropes, even when you've lost everything, you've become homeless, you still have hope. You can always hope for success to come. You can always hope to achieve your goals, your ideals and beliefs. You always use hope in order to succeed in life. Another one for that I want to talk about, which is number four, is power without a cause is meaningless and worthless. A purpose that can, a purpose that is firm can change the impossible to the possible. That is from Deus of Ashura's Wrath, the antagonist, or and the final boss if you don't play the game right. Deus is one of the eight guardian generals and seven deities who um, leads the seven demigods, remaining seven demigods, in their pursuit of their cause, which is to destroy the Goma and Vitra, an impure being that is said to be the will of the earth itself. And so he has created that philosophy due to the fact that he has seen those around him refusing to do something about the suffering that the people face. And it's not just anyone that he sees. It's the people with power, the people in charge. For example, in a flashback, Deus talks with the Emperor. I do not know if he was the Emperor of the villages or the land, or if he was the Emperor that sat among the heavens. But he was the Emperor nonetheless. He talks to Deus um, about strengthening their arms while Vitra has been subdued by Ashura, or well suppressed by Ashura. And the Emperor says no, because he believes that it is an endless cycle no matter what they do. So the emperor chooses to have his people live in a time of peace and prosperity, just to wait for the inevitable. And Deus disagrees with that. He sees that the emperor, who has the power to do something about a sleeping demon that will awaken eventually, choosing to do nothing. So that is the idea of, or the birth of his philosophy, where those who don't use power, those who choose not to use the power that they have, is truly meaningless. Which is where, in a philosophical terms, or in a simple idea, you have the power to solve a solution, or fix a problem that you choose not to do anything about it. You are choosing to let the world be in this constant state of joy and suffering. And I thought that was kind of interesting, because we do tend to see people with power choosing to do nothing about the problems of the world. Number 3 is use power for the right reasons, at least for the reasons you believe in. This is from Ken Marinaris of the video game Zone of the Enders, the second runner. She says this to Dingo, who tells her the story of how he was betrayed by Noman. Kurt, who led the rebellious military group Bara, which was said to be a freedom fighter fighting a military organization for the freedom and independence of Mars. Because if you've watched the anime and played both games, you would understand that people that live on Mars are under the boot or thumb of the people that live on Earth. And it's due to the difference of the gravitational weight, where here on Earth, gravity is pretty normal for us, but if you go to Mars, it's pretty light, where you don't feel so tied down on Mars. That's what they're basically saying, is that they're weak compared to Earth. And so Earth kept them on a dependence of resources and other things, until people just couldn't take it no more, and they started to rebel or revolt. And sorry about that. And so that was the reason why they created that freedom fighting military, but it was technically just a lie. It was just all dictatorship, which is what Dingo finds out eventually. Dingo chose to fall in line and be an obedient soldier when he was a teenager, and he saw that there was no way to get out of it until his last mission, where Noman had set him and his comrades up to die, where he got ambushed by a massive field of Earth-based levies, which were giant mech units, and it resulted in Dingo being the only survivor of that ambush, and knowing that Noman had sold him out just so the mission could seem like a complete and total failure. Instead of Dingo choosing to become a leader and revolt against Nolan, he let his fears and failures control him to go into hiding and just give up on ever freeing Mars. Ken believed that Dingo had the popular power or the ability to sway the people of Bahram or the soldiers of Bahram to stand against Noman by calling him out for his treachery and selfishness, and that Noman did not seek to free um, Mars from the oppression or subjugation of Earth, from Earth. He only saw it as a means of destruction, um, a the will of Metatron, which he believed was to destroy and the destruction to end all. And Dingo chose to just let things be. He believed that he had no actual physical power, unlike the Emperor from Ashura's Wrath. He believed that there was nothing he could do when he had the power all along within his words and his popularity. Thus, Ken states he should have used power for the right reasons, at least the reasons he believed in. And for number 2, which is kind of one of my favorite quotes, second favorite quotes, it is it is, war will continue as an institution, as an industry. Men will fight for reasons they don't understand, causes they don't believe in. That is said by Senator Armstrong, the final boss in Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. This is said because Armstrong sort of believed that the status quo of war will still continue on for a while longer, where it goes back to Solid Snake's speech from Metal Gear Solid 4 about how war has changed, that it's not about resources, land, or ideals. It's become an economy that runs the whole world. Where in Rising, war had become a institution, an everyday thing, where that people were still kind of weaning off of, but used to. And Senator Armstrong had ideals that he believed that he could change the world by starting a war to get elected and ending a war as a president. And in doing so, he would achieve absolute freedom, perfect freedom. But Ryden disagreed with that concept because Ryden believed that he was creating chaos, not perfect freedom. He believed that due to the fact that Ryden had lived the idea of what Senator Armstrong wanted, he was wrong. Because what Ryden lived through was constant war, growing up hungry, fighting and killing for food and water, just to survive. And Armstrong counters that Raiden did survive. With his own two hands, he took back his life and maintained control, which is what everyone else should do. But now that he has failed in his goal or his idea, he left Raiden as a successor. That he knows that with him gone and Raiden still alive and successful in his ideals, that that people will fight for causes they don't believe in and reasons they don't understand because they're just hired bodies. They're just people who just like who just want to mean something, do something, whatever it is, as long as they get paid, as long as they survive. And that quote is kind of one of my second favorites because we're kind of seeing it right now in the real world. People fighting for reasons they don't understand and joining causes they don't believe in because on paper, a cause on paper sounds good, but when you actually join in and experience it firsthand, you don't see it matching what they say, or or a fight, or fighting because they believe. At first, they believed they were doing the right thing, but now that they see what they're fighting or why they're fighting, the beliefs and the why don't match. And I want to get to number one. Uh, my most favorite and popular quote from a video game: "A man chooses and a slave obeys." Um, Ryan from BioShock, I believe his name was Will Ryan. Um, no, Andrew Ryan. It was Andrew Ryan. I don't know why I said Will. It was Andrew Ryan from BioShock, the first one, who is the founder and creator of this underwater city known as Rapture. The reason why it kind of seemed it's my number one quote from a video game is because we all have the power to choose our in life. We are responsible for our choices, and we are we are also free to choose. Where a man chooses and a slave obeys. I can choose to be a good person. I can choose to do what's right in this world. I can choose because I am free to choose. Whereas a slave is forced to obey. A slave has others choose for him. A slave does not get the right to choose. He just listens to others. He's not a follower, no. Because a follower still has a choice. A follower can choose who leads him. Which is why I really do like that quote from Andrew. It was his way of choosing his death. He chose to die um, his own, but in his own way. And he also chose to show the protagonist, you, the player, that you are not truly free. You are a controlled puppet, either by, I forget his name, I think it was Frank something, um, whatever the final boss name was, that tricks you with the phrase, would you kindly, constantly using it to force you to do whatever task. Was it Frank Fontaine? I think, uh, oh well, whatever his name was. Um, basically, Andrew was trying to show that he was free, whereas you, on the other hand, were just a slave who's an obedient slave who had no freedom to choose. You only obey, which was what Andrew was trying to showcase. He was a man that was free to choose how he would die, whereas you, on the other hand, was just a slave who was told to kill. And that, my friends, was one of the greatest or the best way of showing off true freedom, choosing when to die, and to show off the true form of being a slave. You are forced to obey no matter what. That's all I have to say. Thank you and good night.